you know very well that we have been waiting for this price action. We have been watching this fair value gap and we want to see price actually react from it. So for those people who are watching for the first time, let me just explain to you exactly what's going on. So if we look at this chart here, and we're going to start with the monthly time frame actually, so you really get it, you can clearly see that this market was bearish. We had all these low. So the market made a lower low and then we had some consolidation. After getting this consolidation, at this point you can say this market has formed what? This market has formed a new dealing range, okay? From that high to this low, you can see 50% of this dealing range is where we have this fair value gap right here. So right now, even if we want to continue selling dollar, it would be too cheap to sell at this point. You don't want to sell at a discount. The best place to sell it's at a premium price level. So because of that, if you look at the monthly time frame, what we want to see, this is what we want to see. Price has already made a lower low. We want to see a retracement to this fair value gap. So which means as of now, our draw of liquidity is this internal range liquidity on the monthly time frame. So let's look at the weekly time frame. You can clearly see the consolidation that we were seeing. This is exactly what we have. And for some time, you can see here we had price actually sweeping all these, rejecting low, and then we had this bullish move here. So once we had this bullish move here, price created a new dealing range because at this point, the market made a new higher high. You can see we got, this is even market structure shift right here. So the market has made a new higher high. So once that market has made a new higher high, it means a new dealing range was created by price. And if you look at this new dealing range from this low to this high, you can see 50% of that range is where we have this weekly fair value gap, right? And where we have this weekly fair value gap, we also have this volume imbalance. So we have a volume imbalance and a weekly fair value gap. All these we can mark as one PDRA. Price actually gave us that retracement to a discount zone or a discount PDRA. So now because we are buying, this is the best place we want to buy from. And that is why now we want to see what? We want to see a bullish momentum going forward. And you can see so far last week, actually, we had all this bullish candle, which is good. This is what we want to see. So now that you understand how we have come up with our bullish bias, let us now look at the daily time frame and see exactly how we can participate in this bullish move going forward. Now, if you look at this, you can see last week we had all this bullish move here. So at this moment, what do we have? We have this fast fair value gap, which is also still at a good level, not at a bad level. So we have this 50 past this fair value gap here. Now, if you want to continue buying, you don't want to buy when it's really up here because at this point it's really expensive. So the best place that we want to buy from is we want to see actually price give us that retracement, tag this fair value gap before we see that bullish momentum. Yeah, I know if we look lower, we still have another fair value gap down here, but it would really be nice if price leaves this fair value gap as a breakaway gap. I really want to see price use this fair value gap to push price higher. So let's look at USDCHF. So USDCHF and dollar index are positively correlated. So it's the same thing, though we want to see a bullish dollar from the higher time frame. That's the same thing with USDCHF. We also want to see a bullish USDCHF. And if you look at the weekly time frame, you can also clearly see we had this volume imbalance, which price actually tagged, and we've gotten a reaction from it. So we can see here we have this volume imbalance that we have right here. So it would be nice if we're gonna get a retracement. It would be nice actually if we get a retracement for price to tag this volume imbalance before we see that bullish momentum. So let's look at the daily time frame. You can see clearly the weekly volume imbalance is right here. And here we do not really have any fair value gaps that we can work with, but that's okay. So we just want to see still a retracement and then see more bullish momentum. And you can see here there's a fair value gap right here, which we actually want to see price invert. So price should invert this fair value gap and we should see that more bullish continuation moves. So let's look at EURUSD. So EURUSD and dollar index are negatively correlated. So which means you want to see the opposite. So we want to see a bullish dollar index. So which means we want to see a bearish EURUSD. And if you do analysis again, it's still the same thing. You can clearly see at this point, this market made a high. We got a retracement. And right now you can see price made a new higher high. So at this point, it means price has created a new dealing range. So we want to see a retracement if you want to still continue buying. And if you look keenly, you'll see there's an order block here and there's also a fair value gap here on the monthly time frame. So this right now is my draw of liquidity. The way we want to see price get to the monthly fair value gap, the same way we also want to see EURUSD price get to this monthly fair value gap before we see a bullish move, if it will still be bullish. But as of now, our draw of liquidity is this monthly fair value gap that you see right here. So let's look at the weekly time frame, and you can clearly see again, after we made that high, some consolidation, and then we had all this bearish momentum. The moment you got all this bearish momentum, you can see we got market structure shift here. So once you got that market structure shift, you can say this was a new dealing range that was created by price. So all this was just a retracement. So price was just retracing to the premium of the range before we continue with the bearish momentum, because remember we are bearish for EURUSD. And you can clearly see here there's a fair value gap and there's a volume imbalance. And you can see price did not violate this volume imbalance. Price still wicked through it, but you can see all the candle bodies, not one candle body closed above it. Now, so far you can see last week we had all this bearish momentum, which is good. That's what we want to see. So you can clearly see here we have an order block, a weekly order block, and also we can see price actually inverted this fair value gap, which is good. That's what we want to see when you're bearish. That's what you want to see. You want to see price actually violate bullish PDRA and respect bearish PDRA, because right now we are bearish. So we want to see a retracement. Price can even get to this order block before we see that bearish continuation move. So that is what I see on the weekly time frame. So let's look at the daily time frame. You can clearly see last week we had all this bearish momentum, and where we have the weekly order block, we also have this daily fair value gap, which is nice. That's what we want to see. So we want to see actually price retrace, tag this order block, and then we have that bearish momentum. So that is my high probability move for EURUSD this week. So let's look at GBPUSD. So this is positively correlated with EURUSD. So really, I'm not going to really do much. We're just going to look at the daily time frame. If you look at the daily time frame, you can see we have this fair value gap, just the same way as EURUSD. Still the same thing. We actually want to see price retrace, tag this, and then we continue with the bearish momentum. So let's look at gold, and we're going to start with the weekly time frame. If you look at it, you can see we've had this weekly fair value gap, and I've been telling you guys we don't want to see price actually invert this weekly fair value gap. This weekly fair value gap should be used to push price lower if the market is bearish. If gold is bullish, then this weekly fair value gap should be inverted and used to push price higher. But you can clearly see price has been stuck here for some time, until finally last week we had this bullish price retrace, swept that, and then this is what we have. So far this is what we have. So I want to see more bearish momentum moving forward. On the weekly time frame, you can see we have this weekly order block. So let's look at the daily time frame, and on the daily time frame you can see we have this daily fair value gap, which actually got inverted. So right now we have an inversion fair value gap, and do you see how this inverted fair value gap is at the same level as the weekly order block? That is nice. So we want to see actually price retrace, tag this inversion fair value gap, even tag the weekly order block before we see that bearish momentum. So let's look at NAS 100, and we will start with the weekly time frame. You can clearly see it's really bullish. Price has been leaving behind breakaway fair value gaps. All these fair value gaps have been left behind by price, and this is the latest that we have here. So of course, because it's at all-time highs, honestly, you don't want to reverse trade an all-time highs move. So I would really love to see if we get actually a retracement and then continue going higher on the weekly time frame. But you see, if this market is really strong, if it's not going to get to this weekly fair value gap, then it's likely to just use a daily key level to continue going higher. So if you look at the daily time frame, you can see this is the weekly fair value gap that we were looking at. So it would really be nice actually if we get a retracement to this weekly fair value gap. And you can see where we have this weekly fair value gap. Also, there's a daily fair value gap right here and another daily fair value gap there. So it would be nice if we get that retracement here before price continues going higher, or price might do what, or maybe price might be ready for a retracement, deeper retracement, because you can see price left behind more fair value gaps. So yeah, but because this market is really bullish at all-time highs, honestly, I will just work with the bullish momentum. That is a high probability, but I'm really watching these levels. These levels are really important. So that is all I'd prepared for this weekly outlook video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed to this channel, kindly make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one.